Welcome to the Extraordinary Everyday Podcast, where women come to be inspired and motivated to become the best version of themselves and elevate the quality of their everyday. Now, here's your host, certified life coach, Wendy Johnson.
Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be with you today. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing fabulous. I am really enjoying the winter weather here and getting to wear sweaters. Nothing excites me more now that I live in the sun all the time. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about a topic that affects all of us, often without us even realizing it: negativity bias. Have you ever had a day where 10 great things happened, but all you could think about was the one thing that went wrong? That's negativity bias at work. This episode will explore what negativity bias is, why it happens, and how it impacts our lives. More importantly, I'll share some actionable tools to help you counteract it so you can live with more joy, peace, and balance. Let's get started. What is negativity bias? Negativity bias is our brain's tendency to focus more on negative experiences than positive ones. It's actually a survival mechanism rooted in our evolutionary past. Our ancestors needed to pay close attention to threats, a rustle in the bushes, or a dangerous animal. They did this to stay alive. Positive moments, while nice, weren't as critical to survival. Fast forward to today, and our brains still work the same way, even though we're no longer surrounded by those saber-toothed tigers. Instead, we might fixate on a harsh text message from a friend or a less than perfect social media post. Let's say you host a dinner party. Everyone raves about the food except one person who mentions the chicken was a little dry. What do you remember the most when you think back on the evening? Yep, you got it. The comment about the chicken. This tendency is magnified by our modern world. Social media, for example, often bombards us with negative news, making it even harder to focus on the positive news. Why does negativity bias matter? Negativity bias doesn't just affect how we feel, it shapes our actions, relationships, and overall mindset. Let me break it down for you. In close relationships, negativity bias might make us focus on our partner's flaws rather than their strengths. For example, we might dwell on the one time they forgot to pick up milk rather than all the times they've been supportive and kind. And why do we perceive others more negatively? Studies show that negativity bias also makes us judge others more harshly than ourselves. We think we're not negative, but other people are negative. This is partly because we're often more aware of our own intentions. But with others, we're left to interpret their actions without that background. For instance, let's say someone cut you off in traffic. We might label them as rude and a lousy driver while excusing ourselves for doing the same because we were late. At work, negativity bias can lead us to fixate on mistakes rather than accomplishments, making us overly self-critical or fearful of taking risks. Teams can also become less collaborative if members focus on each other's shortcomings rather than strengths. You may decide you don't like your team or you don't like somebody on the team rather than looking at the individual and what they can do well. Now I want to talk about the mental health. Over time, focusing on negatives contributes to anxiety and depression. Chronic exposure to negativity in personal relationships or through constant news consumption can rewire the brain to expect and look for negative outcomes. What this does is it impacts the brain and emotions. When we focus on the negatives in relationships or the world, our brain's neural pathways become more attuned to pessimistic thought patterns. This leads to increased activity in the brain's fear center, the amygdala. Also, there's a decrease in the brain's ability to produce feel-good chemicals like serotonin and dopamine. At the same time, there's also heightened emotional reactivity and stress. If you're experiencing any of these, this is a wake-up call. Let's think about the news cycle. We're more likely to click on headlines about disasters than uplifting stories, which keeps us in a loop of negativity. This can lead to compassion fatigue, where we start feeling disconnected or helpless in the face of overwhelming negativity. Let's dive into the science behind negativity bias. The part of our brain called the amygdala plays a big role in negativity bias. It's responsible for detecting threats and triggering our fight or flight response. Unfortunately, the amygdala doesn't distinguish between a life-threatening situation and minor stressors like running late or receiving critical feedback. There's research studies by Baumeister. He found that bad is stronger than good in how we process emotions and memory. Negative experiences are more vivid and stickier in our minds. So for a moment, let's focus on negativity's impact on thought patterns and well-being. Repeated focus on negativity creates a self-reinforcing cycle. The neural pathways associated with negative thinking become stronger, making it harder to shift to a positive outlook. Not only does it affect thought patterns, it affects emotions. This can lead to heightened feelings of sadness, frustration, or anger, which are difficult to shake off. And when your thought patterns and emotions are affected, this disturbs your well-being. Chronic negativity can lead to physical symptoms such as headaches, muscle tension, or even immune system suppression. It can also affect your sleep quality, as rumination often keeps us awake at night. I want to tie in social media as well. Algorithms often prioritize negative content because it generates more engagement. If you notice your feed has more outrage posts or shocking news, it's because that type of news tends to go viral faster than positive updates. This creates a feedback loop where we're exposed to negativity more often, reinforcing the bias. I have a challenge for you. Think about your most vivid memory from last week. Was it something negative? If so, you're not alone. Most people will think about something negative that happened to themselves or in the world. So, how do you know when negativity bias is at work? Here are some common signs. You find it hard to let go of a critical comment. You frequently replay negative moments in your mind. You avoid taking risks for fear of failure. Are you having conversations about things you're critical about with your friends and family members? Let me share a personal story. A couple of years ago, I remember working on a big project and receiving positive feedback, except for there was one piece of criticism. I still remember the critical email I received, that one comment. It took me days to realize I was ignoring all the positive feedback I had received. This was my negativity bias at work. Take a moment to reflect. Are there areas in your life where you're overly focused on the negatives? Jot it down if you can. Become more aware of where you're spending your time in negative areas. Now let's talk solutions. Here are 5 tools to help you shift your focus. The first one is gratitude practice. Research from Dr. Robert Emmons shows that practicing gratitude can improve happiness and reduce your stress. Write down 3 good things that happened each day, no matter how small. At the end of the week, you'll have 21 good things that happened, and you may not even remember the few negative items that happened that week. The second tool is reframing thoughts. You want to use cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to challenge your negative thoughts. When you're looking at the thoughts that are going in your head, what are the words you're saying? Instead of saying, I'll never get this right, you can change your thought pattern to, I'm learning and improving every day. Maybe somebody in your family can never get anything right. You could say to yourself, when you catch yourself thinking this, that they are learning and improving every day. You let the other person be who they are. And the third tool is mindfulness. Mindfulness-based stress reduction programs are proven to decrease negative thinking. You can practice mindful breathing exercises or practice sitting, beginning with 5 minutes and working up from there. The fourth tool is to celebrate wins. Make a habit of acknowledging your successes, no matter how small. For example, if you completed a workout or cooked a healthy meal, give yourself credit. And the fifth tool is to limit negative inputs. Be mindful of how much time you spend consuming negative news or social media. Consider a news detox or curate your feed to include more positive content. Let's look at a real life example that I had with my coaching. Sarah had shared with me how she struggled with negativity bias after a job interview. Despite nailing most of the questions, she fixated on one she stumbled on. By practicing gratitude and reframing her thoughts, she gained confidence for her next interview and eventually landed her dream job. I'd like to highlight a current event that took place in the LA area. 12,000 plus homes have been burned down and close to 30 people have died. But the community has come together during this crisis, and it reminds us that positivity and resilience do exist, even during challenging times. Our goal is to move towards positivity. Negativity bias is part of being human, but it doesn't have to define your life. With consistent effort, you can train your brain to focus more on the positive. This week, try one of the tools we discussed and share your experience with me. You can email me or connect on social media. I'd love to hear from you. I'll leave you with this thought from Marcus Aurelius. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Let's work on cultivating better thoughts together. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay kind to yourself and focus on the good. Take care, friends. Bye-bye. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, you have to come check out More You, my community of like-minded women. We show up to create the highest version of ourselves and elevate the quality of our everyday along the way. Head over to ontracklifecoaching.com/join. That's ontraclifecoaching.com/join. I'd love to see you in there. And if you haven't grabbed your copy of the Mindset Makeover, head over to ontracklifecoaching.com/makeover and get a copy that teaches and inspires you to show up as your most extraordinary self.